Hey, welcome back to another video from Nemesis Gear Steampunked Out. And we are back from NorwestCon. It was a great show again. We try to do that show every year, and we really appreciate everybody who came out to support us in the show. We did pretty good selling some wands and some leather wand holsters and a bunch of other leather gear. So, again, another great year. So, thanks for coming out. As promised, I do have that other Purple Heart video that I recorded before I left and did not have time to do the editing and get that posted. It's very similar to the last Purple Heart video, so if you like this one, make sure you check the one I did a couple weeks ago. And right now, again, this is pretty standard for most of the wands. I get the blade of the wand turned down to the right size, and so I can feed that into the jaw chuck. So most of that is pretty straightforward. You can watch most of the videos. And for this, when I do this, the trick when you're getting this thin is you don't want to put too much pressure on that because you don't want the wood to warp. So I feed that in at this point as far as it'll go into the jaws, and I back it off just a little bit so I've got some room. And so what I'm doing is I have the jaws tightened to where it's just giving some friction there, and then I screw in that tailstock a little bit as I'm tightening the jaws. And as soon as the wand quits feeding into the jaws, I know that there's enough tension on the jaws to hold it. But I don't put much more pressure on that because I'm trying to keep the pressure enough to keep it steady without warping the wood, causing it to bow from the pressure when it gets thin. So that's one of the things that I found that does help with the chatter. So anyways, I've got my handle marked out here, the grip, and I kind of had an idea of where I wanted to go with this after turning the last one and getting a feel for this particular wood. Is very dense, which comes with its own problems, but also it allows you to do some really cool stuff too. I was able to polish this thing up to I wanted to say like a 600 grit or something. It gets really smooth and shiny. So those really dense woods, you can really polish up. So we're just going to kind of come in and do some shaping here, and the idea is I wanted a couple of coves for the handle, and then I'm going to do some wire burning to separate those little sections out. But I wanted a flat spot for each one of those so that there's not just a sharp edge right where the burning is. So that's kind of what I'm doing with that sandpaper, is making sure those are all regular shape, good, flat, even, and similar. So I'm getting those lines kind of cut in with my parting tool just to make sure I've got a place for my wire. And then I'm going to continue shaping this up. And when I do these designs, I try to continue like the theme, like repeating the similar shapes throughout the design of the wand so that it all feels like one design. And so with this one, I'm doing a series of coves and beads in a way that kind of complements and that has that design transition all the way from the pommel there that I'm just kind of shaping on the little tenon that I left, all the way up through the rest of it. So you'll see me kind of pause and think about what the next step is going to be to get this to follow that shape. And this little shape here that I'm doing, I like this shape. It's almost kind of maybe a vase shape, or flower bud shape, or something. And then I'm gonna round that on over so there's a smooth transition between that rounded bead shape on the backside, and then there's a little bit of a lip towards the top. And I did try to get a little bit of a different angle for you this time instead of straight on, because I know sometimes it's hard to see what I'm doing. And of course, when you do this angle, sometimes you can't really see right there where I'm working, but you get the idea. So anyway, I've got, as you can see, I've got my shapes pretty well defined in here. I'm just going to refine that a little bit. And we are going to do some heat treatment on this as well, because that's going to bring that purple color out. Again, when you're doing using heat for any color changing on the woods, you always run the risk of some slight warping, and sometimes as it cools off, that will lessen. I am going to burn in my friction burns here with my wire, and put those definitions in between the different sections, and then that's gonna I use those as kind of a guide whenever I do the heat treatment on this too. So, and I'm just going to use my skew here to start getting that tenon pretty well lopped off of the end here. I need to get a new skew. This thing it was great. It was a gift. I got a little starter kit a while back, and I've been using it, but I think the starter kit was meant for like larger projects, and so I have several tools that are kind of big and bulky, and they make it a little bit tough to get in there. So as you can see, I do have just the tiniest bit of wobble on here. Not bad. That's pretty common, so I'm pretty happy with it. It's just the nature of how it turns sometimes. But we'll clean out some of the the wood burning areas with that wire brush, and then we go into a whole bunch of sanding. Like I said, I polish this thing up to a very, very smooth, shiny polish. Which is great because again, most of these wands I'm just using an oil and wax finish, and even with that you can get just a wonderful shine. So at this point, all I'm doing is going in and wiping this down with denatured alcohol to get it nice and clean. Take the sawdust off. Kind of see what we're working with here. Make sure I don't have any rough spots or anything, because I did want to pay attention to get this as highly polished and shiny as possible. And this is where I'm going to go in with that heat gun. You'll see, as soon as you start applying that heat, once the heat starts working into the wood, it really brings out that purple color. Again, if you watch my last video, you know that this batch of Purple Heart that I got was super dense, and when the color started changing, it did go from purple to almost black very quickly. So that's why I'm using the heat gun instead of the torch like I often do, because usually you can just lightly brush the torch across it and it'll bring that purple out pretty quickly. But I found with the torch it was so quick that it did get a little overly dark. As you can see, applying that heat, it did increase that wobble on this. It's not bad. I think because of the speed of the video, you're seeing it kind of get a little bit jerky, but you really can't tell unless it's spinning. So, and what I'm doing here, this is something that I try to do sometimes. I'm doing different color, on this. So I want to preserve some of that original kind of pinkish purple, and then that dark purple. And so I'm just using a piece of scrap wood to kind of block some of the hot air, so that I can keep a defined color change in between those sections to a certain extent. And I do, like you can see here, I've already shaped as I finished that up and shaped the blade of the wand, and I did go ahead and add kind of a darker purple into that center there, so there's kind of a fade from the handle to the blade, and then there's some color changes. I'm just going to oil this up and using a little bit of a heat gun, because again it's still pretty chilly up here, and I just want that oil to be nice and warm so that it works deep into that wood for good protection. Then we'll wipe it down and get that cleaned up and waxed and polished, and you'll see the final result here in just a moment. But anyways, I hope y'all are enjoying those videos. I'm really enjoying making them. We did sell quite a few wands at the last show, so I actually am heading up to the wood shop here shortly while this is uploading, and I'll be making some more wand videos for you. And this is the almost final result. This is just the oil. Once this oil completely dries, then that's when I put the wax on and polish it. And so we'll get that final picture up for you now. And you can see super shiny, super smooth. This feels really great in the hand. So again, if you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up, and definitely subscribe if you're wanting to see some more. I am really trying to do more and more videos for you this year, and hopefully we'll do some leather work at some point as well. But we do have another show. We're doing the Moscow Renaissance Fair here in North Idaho, and that one's pretty close by, and we're hoping to try that for the first time and see how it goes. It's pretty small local show, but it's nice to get to meet some people in the local area as well. So I hope you'll come out and see us, and keep an eye out for the next video. Thanks for watching.